Okay, carry on.
Yep.
Sure.
Where there was a change of kinds.
Fish.
Human beings are still fish.
Human beings are fish?
Why, yes, of course they are.
How long did that take?
A couple billions of years, millions.
A couple of millions?
Okay, can I just stop right there? Just stop. Because he's cut out PC's explanation of why we're still fish. We're still fish, and in fact we're vertebrates. Am I quite right? I'm not.
I'm guessing it's a question relating to like the similarities or something like that.
Yeah, I think we're fish vertebrates. Sorry, I'm not. I admit I know virtually nothing about anatomy.
Well, as far as I know, fish were the original vertebrates, so all vertebrates would have evolved from fish, and that means we are fish.
And if we really want
to a degree, yeah.
Yeah, it's just that we don't use we don't use the words that way normally.
Yeah, for
because
us,
when we think of
sorry.
What we think of as a fish is not a category that includes everything that evolved from fish. Just like we don't think of, birds or dinosaurs.
Well, the whole
by
point
dinosaur we typically refer to the the lizard-looking type things, and not everything that came from them.
The whole point of phylogeny is the fact that we get a lot more specific in our description of what animals are. Because if you want to just say that we all, if you want to say, well, there's still this, when you talk about something having evolved over time, then we can say, oh, well, it's still an animal.
And if you wanted to take that,
if you want to go back that far,
if you wanted to go back far enough, you could say technically we're all bacteria.
Yeah, and I'm just reading someone over in the Von Live chat room saying, how can we know this film was made? Because we never saw it happening.
That's a good point.
We never saw you film this, so...
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I've never seen Ray Comfort in person.
Right, shall we carry on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not.
We came out of the ground as a mammal, and one mammal created...
Come out of the ground? Didn't we come out of the sea?
Huh? Well, initially in the beginning, we came out of the ground and the sea. After the great destruction of the...
So did we have lungs or gills when we came out of the sea?
You want to know something?
Oh, God, not again.
Those that were in the sea, I guess, had gills, and those that were on land had lungs.
But if we came out of the sea, we had gills in the sea.
You want to know something? Who knows that we came out of the sea or we evolved from mammals?
So you don't know?
Huh? Of course I don't know.
I'm accepting that they did their science correctly.
Did you get me? What?
I would just like to point out that, am I correct in saying that there are animals in the world that have both gills and lungs?
Yeah, is it mud skippers, I think they're called?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, again, not mutually exclusive, shove a baseball bat up your ass, right?
And am I right in thinking, I remember this from a Dawn Exodus video that I got this from, but wasn't the first animals to come out of the ocean, their gaseous exchange took place on their skin?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so. It rings a bell, that.
It sounds suspiciously like frogs, so I could believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then, like someone pointed out in the chat, like, who knows? We came from mammals. Well, we are mammals.
Do you see any women, egg, shell, and the little yolk? Well, I suppose you could, but you'd have to pay a lot of money for it.
Alright, let's carry on, shall we?
Example of Darwinian evolution, not adaptation or speciation, but a change of kinds.
Oh, what? Damn it, he just said... We're not... Don't tell me, we don't want evolution. We want evolution.
Yeah, that's basically what he just said.
Basically, this is becoming Jack Nicholson. We want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
No, I'll tell you exactly what it is. It's the pine cone argument.
Oh, God, no.
I mean, this is what TC actually said. If you kill off all the trees with big pine cones for some reason, then the small ones will be the only ones left. So That's not evolution. That's just the small one surviving. Well, of course it's evolution. That's how evolution works, you dumbass.
I think that just gave me cancer.
But the thing
It's
I always...
basically like saying the dodos aren't extinct, they were just all killed.
Yeah. Well, the one thing I always think someone should ask Ray is, what do you actually think evolution is? What do you think actually happens? Because I think he just seems to think that animals just give birth to random things all the time.
No, I don't think he thinks, I don't think he thinks that at all.
Well, that seems to be what
that's how he's phrasing it. That's how he's phrasing it, obviously.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's what he actually thinks evolution is.
Yeah.
I think he understands completely what evolution is because it's been explained to him time again by people who understand the subject.
Yeah.
He refuses to actually change what his portrayal of it is because it's just so much easier to misportray it and try and make it look stupid.
Yeah. All right, shall we carry on, guys?
Yes.
Sure.
Getting more reluctant with each pause.
These are changes of kinds.
They're still fish.
They're distinctly different fish.
We have thousands of examples.
Can you give me one?
I can give you thousands.
Just one.
For instance, I would say look at Lenski's experiments with bacteria then.
So what do the bacteria become?
The bacteria are still bacteria, of course.
That's not Darwinian evolution. That's not a change of
Yes,
oh, God.
It is a change. It is a change in the genetic makeup of the bacteria, which is
They're still bacteria. So what do the bacteria become?
A new kind of bacteria.
So it's still bacteria. There's no change of kinds.
Oh, God.
Idiot.
She just said different kind of bacteria.
This stupid stuff.
It's a different kind of bacteria.
That's not a different kind.
But it's not a different kind.
Yeah, he doesn't. To him, is like everything on four legs the exact same.
But it's still an organism.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Any other points, or shall we carry on?
No, I just want to make
It's still got genetics. It's still got genetics, therefore...
It's still made up of atoms.
No, I want to take this a bit farther. A star goes supernova, turns into a red dwarf. It hasn't changed, it's still a star.
Alright, let's spin on, shall we?
Yeah, sure.
To summarize, the observable evidence that you give me for Darwinian evolution is bacteria becoming bacteria.
No, it is bacteria acquiring new metabolic capabilities.
You said before that there is lots of evidence for evolution. I just want one observable evidence for Darwinian evolution. No. Just one.
But I gave you some. You don't want...
Not some, I want one.
Wait, you don't want that.
I want one. Yes, I do. I'm pleading with people.
You asked me to tell you... You asked me to tell you when I've watched one species evolve into another. Isn't that right?
No, one kind into another. There's 14.
What's
14
a kind?
Wait a minute. I'm going to give you an example of a species evolving into another species. That doesn't count. Why? Because that's not evolution. Well, according to what? Because I said so. I'm defining it as kinds turning into different kinds.
And
what's a kind?
To define kind.
I just want to say, if we were to say bacteria into people, he would say, nah, that didn't happen. That can't just spontaneously happen. And we went through every fucking step along the way. He would simply say, but that's not evolution. It's fucking...
I just want one example. Okay, here's an example. That's not evolution. There's no winning. You can give him as many examples as he wants, but none of them are going to count.
Yeah.
Because he's just going to shift the goalpost and say that doesn't count as evolution because I've defined it in such a way that it's not even evolution.
Thank you, bastard.
He's forgetting something. What he wants is to all that bacteria into something else, which, by the way, is not possible anymore. Bacteria are perfectly well adapted as single-cell organisms. They might become multicellular in a sort of biofilm, but they're perfectly happy as a single cell or in a biofilm. They're not going to become an entirely new kind of multicellular species.
They don't really have to worry about other kinds of bacteria eating them as much, and if that's what they have to worry about, fuck it, they have lots of spawn.
Okay. We'll carry on because we're starting to psychoanalyze bacteria now. Shall we move?
Yeah.
definitions of species. So I want a change of kind.
When you're talking about kinds or change in families, you're actually talking about macroevolution. You're talking about changes on the level that separate, say, cats from dogs.
Could you give me any examples of Darwinian evolution?
Well, when you say examples of that, then you have to sort of look at over a longer time frame.
It has nothing to do with faith. Faith is something that I have to, unseen, I have to believe in.
That's it, unseen. Look, do you believe evolution?
Of course I do.
Are you a believer in evolution?
Yes, I am.
When did you start to believe evolution?
I started to believe evolution when I started to think out for myself.
Is evolution a belief?
Well, you know something, evolution is a thought process. Is coming to terms and checking out all the alternatives, like taking a look at the religion, man-made religions.
Let me ask you again: is evolution a belief?
No, evolution is.
Oh, well, yeah, in a word,
yeah, I could say it could be a belief.
Can you say define a belief?
Yeah.
I mean, you could say it's a belief, but I mean, it's a belief that if you drop something, it'll fall.
Yeah.
But it's a belief based on evidence.
Yeah, it all depends on what you're referring to when you say belief.
Exactly.
Belief has a very large amount of things that it can pertain to, and when you just kind of conflate all of those different things together into one form of belief, then you are having a horrible conversation because you're not even defining what you're talking about.
Also, it's something Matt Dillahunt is always saying that I think it's belief is a subset of knowledge.
No, it's the other way around.
Is it the other way around? Sorry, I couldn't remember.
This is simply becoming us just saying over and over, define what this is, Ray.
Yeah.
Because that's Ray's spiel. He doesn't define what he's talking about, and it confuses conversation so that he can manipulate the conversation to be what he wants it to be about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's carry on.
Change of kinds, you mean the evolution of one species from another or to another? Yes, we have that in action actually in the Galapagos.
Could you give me one instance?
Yes, we have an example from a group of birds called Darwin's finches.
You take a look at the difference between the finches on the islands that all started out. I mean, that's very, very observed.
Stop. Let me preempt. But they're still finches.
Yeah.
Let me also say this has driven me to drinking and smoking.
But you did those before anyway, though.
It's increased the rate.
You have foiled my plan.
I think it's driven you to drinking and smoking even more. I think that's what you should have said.
Yeah, but that'd still be drinking and smoking. You know, it hasn't changed kind.
Alright, let's carry on.
Let's go.
Not Darwinian evolution. There's been no change of kinds. What did the finches become?
They become genetically new and anatomically new, recognizably different species.
So they're still finches?
Well, of course they're still finches.
Of course
yes.
they are.
There's no change of kind.
Little birds that he had observed.
What did they become?
Their beaks, their beak shapes.
They're still birds.
Yes, three
No,
finches
of
that
course
turn
they're
into different
still
types
birds.
of birds.
They're still
finches.
animals.
No, Kitch, I just want to ask you this, because you keep saying it. What actually is Darwinian evolution, Kitch?
It's base. It's. I know. I have no idea what Ray means, but there's really no difference between. It's Darwin. It's Darwin's. As far as I can tell from my own understanding of it, is that Darwinian evolution is just but the theory that Darwin proposed.
Yeah, but what actually does it? Does it just give a brief kind of explanation? Just because he keeps repeating it, but he never says himself what it is.
The change of allele frequencies in a population over time.
Yeah.
I would actually like to say I have to go for 5 or 10 minutes. I have to put my dog away.
Right.
So I'm going to take a break from the banana man.
Yes. And you're going to have a conversation with a dog instead.
It'd be more enlightening, and I'd probably get a better definition of kind.
Alright, we'll see you in a bit.
Toodles.
How we carry on?
Yep.
Well, for example, Darwin and his study on evolution of the birds on the island that he went on to there.
Their beaks changed?
Their beaks.
They're still birds. There's no change of kinds. That's within the kind.
It's evolution on the beaks.
So that's called adaptation. It's not Darwinian evolution. There's
Actually,
no change
it is evolution.
Well, adaptations. like a part of evolution, isn't it?
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's like saying like a ball rolling down a hill isn't really gravity.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Kinds. There's no different animal involved. I want something that shows me Darwin's belief in a change of kinds as scientific. Darwin spoke of a change of kind. Can you think of any observable evidence for Darwinian evolution where there's a change of kind?
If Darwin ever used the word kind in that sense, that was not the proper scientific term. It was a very loose term in that case.
And if you noticed on the screen there, they're interviewing a geology major with that question. It's that's the one thing I've noticed with us. The only time they put up their qualification is when he's asking them a question that's completely unrelated to the field. I just don't know why he's done that in this film.
Yeah, that actually reminds me of a meme on Facebook I saw actually quite recently about the differences between science in real life and science in the movies. And in the real life science, you have a cell biologist saying, "Oh, this is an area of biochemistry. I have to go for help." In the movie, you have a scientist saying, "Oh, I'm a cell biologist, and this is a matter of particle physics. I've got this." This perfectly sums up what rating science, like what scientists are like. They can talk about anything outside their field because, they're scientists.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if, it's a matter of physics and you're, I don't know, an expert in jam making.
All right, shall we carry on?
Yeah, sure.
I'm gonna have to think about that one a little longer.
You give me anything that I can see, observe, and test, which is the scientific method for Darwinian evolution, a change of kind.
The genome.
Test and observe. Could you give me observable evidence, which is the scientific method for Darwinian evolution, a change of kinds?
The genome.
And notice again, they're interviewing a physicist here.
Yep.
Okay, I gotta think about it. So you want the evidence of it?
I would say... I cannot, I think.
Where's the Jeopardy team when you need it?
And now an environmental science guy has asked this question.
Mitochondrial DNA. So, can you repeat the question again?
Could you give me any observable evidence, just one, for Darwinian evolution?
Let me think about that for a sec.
Observable evidence, something where we don't have to exercise faith. Something that can be observed, like the scientific process, observable.
Did I miss anything?
That one I'm not quite sure.
You can't think of any observable evidence for evolution?
No.
How do you know it's true?
I'm not sure.
So Darwinian evolution is not observable, it's not scientific.
Oh my God, you're asking a question.
So it's unscientific, you can't prove it.
Scientific, actually, you could prove it. It could be proven, just...
Do it for me.
That's hard.
I don't the damn question.
It's just, that's just too broad of
ill-formed. You're asking for something that doesn't exist. Kinds evolving into other kinds, and what you mean by kinds? It's just what are you? Of course, they can't answer that question because that's not something that evolution actually touches on. You fucking.
Can I just point something out? Even though these people may be majors in biology, there's different parts of biology. It's not all, okay, and today everyone who does biology will be learning about evolution.
Yeah. it's you have people who work on microbiology. You have people, and even in different fields of microbiology, you still have experts in microbiology who won't know much about, let's say, medical microbiology.
Yeah.
You won't have wastewater engineer commenting on HIV.
Well, it's an example I spoke to you about, Kitcher, like that conversation between Craig Venter and Dawkins, where like Venter corrected Dawkins on the Tree of Life analogy, and like Dawkins said, "Oh, I didn't know that," and that was just because Venter's in a different field and he knows more on that field than Dawkins did. You just get that.
Yeah, they just think it's one cohesive, everybody knows everything in science.
It's like asking me, to take an analogy I can understand and possibly a lot of people understand. I know a lot about brewing of beer, simply because I drink a lot of it and I like to know how it's made. If you were to ask me how vodka is made, or how scotch is made, or fucking how sake is made, I would not have a fucking clue. Similar process, different fucking, completely different product, and it gets changed.
That way normally.
Yeah, for
because
us,
when we think of
sorry.
What we think of as a fish is not a category that includes everything that evolved from fish. Just like we don't think of, birds or dinosaurs.
Well, the whole
by
point
dinosaur we typically refer to the the lizard-looking type things, and not everything that came from them.
The whole point of phylogeny is the fact that we get a lot more specific in our description of what animals are. Because if you want to just say that we all, if you want to say, well, there's still this, when you talk about something having evolved over time, then we can say, oh, well, it's still an animal.
And if you wanted to take that,
if you want to go back that far,
if you wanted to go back far enough, you could say technically we're all bacteria.
Yeah, and I'm just reading someone over in the Vaughn Live chat room saying, how can we know this film was made? Because we never saw it happening. Okay, carry on.
Yep.
Sure.
Where there was a change of kinds.
Fish. Human beings are still fish.
Human beings are fish?
Why, yes, of course they are.
How long did that take?
A couple billions of years, millions.
A couple of millions?
Okay, can I just stop right there? Just stop. Because he's cut out PC's explanation of why we're still fish. We're still fish, and in fact we're vertebrates. Am I quite right? I'm not.
I'm guessing it's a question relating to like the similarities or something like that.
Yeah, I think we're fish vertebrates. Sorry, I'm not. I admit I know virtually nothing about anatomy.
Well, as far as I know, fish were the original vertebrates, so all vertebrates would have evolved from fish, and that means we are fish.
And if we really want
to a degree, yeah.
Yeah, it's just that we don't use we don't use the words. That's a good point.
I never saw you film this, so.
Yeah.
I've never seen Ray Comfort in person.
Right, shall we carry on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not.
We came out of the ground as a mammal, and one mammal created...
Come out of the ground? Didn't we come out of the sea?
Huh? Well, initially in the beginning, we came out of the ground and the sea. After the great destruction of the...
So did we have lungs or gills when we came out of the sea?
You want to know something?
Oh, God, not again.
Those that were in the sea, I guess, had gills, and those that were on land had lungs.
But if we